Happy Monday and welcome to the Wolff Den, presented by In the Club Room and Win Again Academy. Mark Moyer doing some great things within the Club Room. They have a great event tomorrow night with Theo Fleury and Eric Kusin, going to talk some mental health. That's tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Go to the website for information, and it would be good if I had the website down there, in the clubroom.com and Win Again Academy. I'd like to welcome Dave Wakeman to the Wolff Den today. Dave, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. So Dave, for people who don't know, and I'll let you introduce yourself, but Dave is somewhat of a mentor to me, although I am told that you're supposed to listen to your mentors, right?
Ooh,
I don't know.
Don't tell too many people about that. I don't want to give people the wrong impression this early.
They don't want to think that that it's not working. What you said doesn't work. That's the stuff that I don't listen to.
Yeah, it's all on you.
Only the stuff that I don't listen to doesn't work, right?
Right, exactly right. If you did it and it doesn't work, you definitely weren't listening to me. That's the truth.
So I described you in the intro when I set this up as a marketing guru, but tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So I'm Dave Wakeman. You can find me at davewakeman.com. I really focus on marketing. Like Matt said, I wouldn't call myself a guru. I think that's a blowhard term. I would call myself somebody who really understands the process of marketing. I am a properly trained marketer, as I like to say, in a world filled with people who call themselves marketers and have not read a marketing textbook, marketed anything except for themselves, or done anything except for turn marketing into a communications platform. My philosophy is strategy before tactics. There is a process to effective marketing that anybody can repeat. I like to say the joke is that I stole from one of my marketing professors, Mark Ritson, is that I'm in marketing because it's where all the fucking money is, and that's really the way it goes for me. But check me out at davewakeman.com, and you can find all kinds of crazy stuff about me.
But you're technically a consultant, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm. And I've been a consultant for, I think this is 13 years now.
Yeah. It's funny. Because Hitch is it's not one of my favorite movies, but it's a movie I love a lot. And there's a scene in there when they ask Will what he does, and he says, I'm a consultant, dabble in this and that. And he's like, well, I don't even know what you do. You know, what a consultant is. He's like, yeah, that's why we get to charge so much money. Nobody does. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie, which is a pretty good movie.
And depending who you work with, it's largely true.
Yeah.
It's completely true.
Yeah, it does depend on that. So I met you at Intix. That was my first Intix on the way back. I'd been to Intix before, and obviously I think you're well known in the Intix world and some other communities as well. How big are those associations and conferences and communities for you along these years? I mean, you're pretty involved in a lot of them. You were more involved in the past. Tell me a little bit about how you leverage those communities and help them.
Okay. Yeah. So the first question is how important have those communities been to me building a brand for myself? Is that right?
Yeah.
Would that be the first? Not at all. I actually came to them very late, and in a way, I wish that I had known and been involved in them a little bit earlier, because it would have helped me reach a larger audience more quickly. Okay. I did a lot of heavy lifting on my own when it would have been nice if I had a platform that I have now, right, to share my ideas and tell stories. So I really didn't always properly recognize the power of a community. So like there's so many of the different ones going on, or conferences, that you can find people that can help you, or they can help spread your ideas, or they can help you improve yourself. A couple that I really am fond of is there's two women in Australia, Angela Higgins and Joe Michelle. They did a great conference, and they're going to do a great one next year called the Ticketing Professionals Conference of Australia. That's great, right? Check them out. There's also the Ticketing Professionals Conference in the UK run by Andrew Thomas and his wife, Carol. Check them out. They're Peter Marks, a bunch of people. They're great. Here in the States, the ALSD, the Association of Luxury Suite Directors, National Sports Forum, Ron Seaver and his team, the Intix conference. Just the word of caution I would give people is make sure that you understand what you can bring to the audience, right? What you can deliver as far as value is, and find ways to contribute, right? Because there's always a way, if you want to make a positive impact, that you can contribute, and that would be my big thing. But the first answer is, how much did I use them to build what I have now? Is none, and it was probably to my detriment. So
it's interesting because there are so many of those type of communities, and it's hard to. Sometimes it's easy, very easy. It's black and white where you fit in, but sometimes there's that gray area. And I think you and I have talked about this. You don't want to be talking to the right people, but the wrong person. And so, you got to be careful, not necessarily careful, but you have only a limited amount of time, a limited amount of funds. So picking that right community is key, especially early on, I think. But it's all good networking. And that's certainly something that is, networking is really marketing yourself, right? And selling yourself.
I think you're asking me two questions. And the first one is, how do you make sure that you're talking to the right? Actually, you're asking me three questions, I think. You're asking me, how do you make sure you use your time most effectively? How do you make sure you're talking to the right people? And then the third one is, what do I think about networking? So let me work backwards. I'll start with networking. I, just like on the previous question, I said, hey, I didn't necessarily do a very good job of utilizing trade associations and some of these membership clubs and organizations when I was starting out, because I didn't know any better, right? And part of that is I didn't have mentors. I didn't have a lot of stuff going on when I was younger. So I have tried to make it very easy for people to talk to me and connect with me. I don't always have a lot of time for people, but I try to make at least enough time so that, hey, if you have a question, you need some direction, however I can help, to at least help a little bit, because I didn't two things. I didn't have that, and I didn't know how to gain access to it. So I don't want to be the impediment. So I connect with people. I help as much as I can. I create groups and membership, not even membership things, just like open societies and communities, like the Talking Tickets Slack channel. So people can get together, they can connect, they can talk. I just sort of happen to be the center of the thing, but I'm by far not the most important part of any of the communities. I just like to give people the opportunity to connect with other people, because I know how important it is. And I know how, if you have those opportunities to connect, they can be valuable for you. So that's the first thing. The second part about that is, how do you understand how to talk to the right people, right? So for a long time, I talked about strategy through the lens of three questions. And those three questions were, what is the value you want to create? Who's the actual buyer for your product or service? And three, how are you going to reach them? And so understanding what you're trying to deliver, what you want to do, and then understanding who you're actually trying to reach, it helps you clear up who you're talking to a lot more. It makes it simpler to do that. It can be very hard, and I have framed it pretty harshly in the past, where I'm going, you got to spend a lot less time talking to people who can only say no to you. And that's not to say, it's a contradiction to the first answer, but it's true when you're trying to sell something. And you have to put each of these things into different buckets. Networking's great. That's fine. You need time for that. Developing business is great, but you also have to have a time for that. And when you do, you have to be relentless, right? You have to be focused on, what's the next logical step? How am I going to move this conversation forward? What's the value to get to that next stage? That's what you got to do during that time. So then the third thing is, how do you pick the places that you need to be, or what you need to do to make sure you're using the networking and the prospecting and business development time most effectively? And the thing is that answer changes all the time. I would tell people that if you look at yourself or your business as a business, and you think about you or your business through the lens of marketing, which I do almost everything through, you have to understand who your customer. You got to see the business through the eyes of your customer, and so that means that you're going to have to do some research, right? So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to understand what's going on in the world around you, what's impacting the people you're trying to sell to or trying to serve, right? And then you're going to want to create a segment of the market, which is a map, right? You want to pick a target, right? Who you're going to try to reach, right? Who you're going to work to serve, right? And always segment and target based on behavior, right? What does the behavior look like? And then you position yourself accordingly in the market. And so if you've done those three things, segment, target, position, which is the foundation of marketing strategy, you should have a better idea of where you want to be, right? Like I've told you offline some of the things I'm not doing this year, and I've told you exactly why. At the end of last year, at the end of 2020, as we were coming through the pandemic and we were trying to figure out what recovery would look like, I spent some time doing a survey of 1,100 or so CEOs. I found that 80% of them don't trust their marketing department, which is fairly great for me, but pretty awful for their marketing departments. And through that research, I went out and I looked around and I found out that 73% of businesses this year are given the remit to get growth, right? So that's pretty good, right? The other 27%, I guess they're just going to stay the same. I don't know. From there, though, I found out that about 40% of businesses don't have a strategy, right? So that makes that pretty tough, because if you need to grow and you don't have a strategy, it makes the number of 53% of people not knowing where to start to find growth seem pretty reasonable. And so I looked at that and I said, well, what can I do to help people? And so then I went back, I picked out some targets, right? Because I realized that the people that I work best with and that I'm going to have the biggest impact on are the people who their CEO trusts them, right? So it's a small thing, but they may not have a plan, and they need to grow, but they might not have a plan, or they don't know exactly how to get their plan off the ground, because out of that group is going to come a lot of spillover. And so then that means that it gave me a really specific way of looking at the world. And so I don't need to talk to everybody. I just need to talk to people who this is their worldview, right? Their CEOs have put a great deal of trust in them. They want to grow. They may not have a plan, or they may not know how to get their plan in place. And through that, there'll be bleed over into these people who think they have a plan, but they can't get anywhere and all these things. But if you do that work, it makes where you should go a lot easier, because you know what to look for. There's signals. It's clearing out the signal from the noise, right? And there's a lot of noise in the world today. I don't know if I answered that at all, though.
Yeah, of course, all that's great information. Part of it was just more of a statement than a question, just saying that networking is really marketing yourself, and selling yourself, which is, sales and marketing are hand in hand. There obviously is a difference between the sales and marketing, but they all go together, and the networking is still.
Let me stop you there, though. Sales is subservient to marketing. Marketing is superior to sales, and I'll tell you why. Because marketing is strategic and sales is tactical. You absolutely need to do the proper job of marketing before you begin the process of sales. And there's several reasons why. If you're a market-oriented business, or if you lead with marketing, you become a lot closer to your customer. You know them a lot better. You understand what their needs are, what their desires are, how you can help them, right? Because you know the customer better, you can design products and services a lot more effectively, which usually means that you launch them better. If you launch them better, they have a tendency to be more profitable, right? And if they're more profitable, it means you end up not being a numpty, and your CEO pays attention to you and likes you, right? So you're in that 20%. If you're sales oriented, here's what happens a lot of times. Price is always the biggest concern, right? Always going to be price, man. Every time we come about is price. So you lose your price, price security, right? Discount, you end up more likely to discount. And often what happens is you get in an environment where you just need more products to sell. And these are all things that end up being bad for the business. So sales is not like it's a tactic that, if you've done the marketing work right, becomes more effective. If you let the sales team just drive your business, oftentimes you get jammed up, because it's not the sales team's fault or the marketing team's fault. It's that strategy has to come before tactics.
Yeah, but in certain situations, sales can drive the marketing for a specific thing. I'll give you a small example. If I'm a lemonade stand at an event in a 90-degree heat, I don't really need to market that. I just got to show up. So, and then
that would be wrong, because you would have gone through the role of marketing. You would have understood your market. You would have made sure that you segmented, targeted, and positioned, right? Then you would have gone through the 4 Ps, the marketing mix: product, price, place, and promotion. So you would have said, the right place is to be out here in the middle of this fairground on a 90-degree day. I probably can get a better price than I would think I would. So instead of $2, I'm going to charge $3, right? Promotion, I don't really need to do much, but I better make a big ass sign that's going to show people that I'm going to be there, right? So these are all marketing decisions. They're not sales driven. They're marketing decisions.
I'm saying it could be on the fly, not this whole big process was kind of the
Well,
general.
that's true. That's absolutely true. It shouldn't be a scary thing. It's just like sort of let me step back and see the big picture before I go throw all of my stuff like against the wall to see what's going to stick. No, let me step back a little bit and figure out what I'm trying to do here. So then when I start throwing ideas out there, they all have a certain amount of focus, a certain amount of thoughtfulness and a theme to them so that they can have a greater likelihood of being effective. Because a lot of the job is experimentation, right? Like nobody has all the right answers, but you're trying to eliminate some of the ones that are definitely not going to do you a good job.
Right. And some of that is by experimenting. It's almost like the medical field, like, all right, let's rule this out. And so we can focus on what we think is going to work.
Right. Diagnosis is the most important thing you can do in any business situation, right? You don't want to solve the wrong problem, right? It's very, the way I frame it to people is like solving problems is simple, it's easy, it's cheap. It's also usually expensive because you can spend a lot of time solving things that don't need to be bothered. You have to be very good at diagnosis because you have to be very good at figuring out what you should be spending your time and energies on. And that's why you put strategy before tactics.
Strategy before tactics. I think I said tactics was the word I was trying to remember that you would definitely say today. We knew you talked about no discounts, which is a big.
That'll be its own special section of this thing because if I have done anything in the world, it is that I have framed discounts are for dummies as like as whatever. It's my super slogan. It's a super slogan.
Yeah, get it.
Discounts are for dummies.
But it's some of what you said is you are putting this stuff out there for people. You're available to talk. But the Talking Tickets newsletter, which I subscribe to, has some great information. The Slack channel, you're always giving some type of information there, and also connecting people. I've connected with some people. I've gone there to promote some stuff that I'm doing that I think some people in the event / ticketing world would want. So it's that's one of the things we wanted to talk about, and that's at the bottom of it here. Go to the website, subscribe to the newsletter. Join the Slack channel if that's something that you think could be of value to you. And also we do a happy hour. You and Ken Troop, who's going to be on our show Wednesday, I believe, and we got Garrett also. I tried to get Josh on, but I can't go live on Thursday or Friday. So this was going to be the happy hour week, and so you're part of the happy hour. Here we got Frankie chiming in.
See, Frankie knows.
Frankie knows.
Frankie knows is got exactly right. Procter & Gamble and General Mills have actually great internal marketing training programs, and they do a fantastic job, right? And they are excellent branders and excellent marketers, right? And that's where a lot of the CMOs and CEOs and board members that come through marketing come out of P&G or General Mills.
And it's almost like the Kleenex too, where you mention a brand when you want something, but that's actually you mention a brand when you want a product, but it's actually a brand and not a product. Like, yeah, I need some Kleenex or.
Well, this is one of the beautiful things. Like if you've done a really great job of branding your business, you become it's like a commodity in the market because your brand just overwhelms all the other ones, right? So it's like, I'm going to go Google something means I'm going to go search the internet for it, right? I need a Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand of tissue, but you go and get Kleenex. The other side of it, there's a flip side though, becoming a commodity is it comes back to discounts where you run your brand into the ground and you're just you happen to be the one that's there, right? So let's say as a marketer, my job is to be myself, right? I would say as far as, independent consultants go, I have a fairly strong brand because I don't want to be when you say, oh, I need somebody to help me with my marketing, I'll just take whoever's around and they come find me. I want people to specifically go, I want to talk to Dave, right? Because that allows me to create a price premium. It allows me to dictate the terms of the engagement. More likely than not, I could tell you you're full of it and you'll listen to me. Whereas like if you just have like a commodified marketing consultant, you'll just ignore them because there's just noise like the rest of the consultants, not because the consultants are necessarily telling you something's wrong. It's just because they haven't built the brand. One of the most powerful things to anybody who's listening to this thing today is focus on building your own brand, right? And build it in a direction that you want it to be, because that brand will give you security in the market, especially as we come through the pandemic and we're all trying to get back to business. We're all trying to develop an expertise. We're all trying to grow our business, or, however we're trying to do it. Build that brand.
And that's one of the things that I'm really enjoying in my journey right now is, Ticket Time Machine is me and my brand is Ticket Time Machine. And when you're starting out like that, and similar to what you are, because you're always going to be your brand, and your work is
for better or for worse.
Yeah. Another thing that people say, I always try and tell people, if I try and call this a thermal ticket, well, people in the industry know, but otherwise I say it's a Ticketmaster type ticket, right? But one thing that people don't realize about Ticketmaster is they're not a ticket company; they're a software company. So they've done a good job of branding themselves as a ticket company.
Well, here, let me go back and define brand for everybody in a way that makes it meaningful, because let's be real with people for a second. Most of the time when you hear the term like personal branding or branding, it's thrown around by somebody who probably doesn't have training as a proper marketer or doesn't know what the hell they're talking about. And the only thing they're good at selling is themselves. And the brand is just the accumulation of the good and bad encounters people have had with you. Right? It's a summation of all the good and bad that you or your brand has done over the years, right? So you have to be very conscious of the touch points. You have to be very clear about what message you want to get across. And you have to be very consistent in delivering it so that over time, the balance works in your favor as opposed to against you. So it has a very simple meaning. It's just that most of the time, most people, when they're talking about it, they're either trying to sell you something or trying to sell you on something that isn't true. My goal has always been to kind of tear away a lot of the BS and give it to people straight, because I want to make things simple. If you're trying to complicate something, then you're definitely trying to steal money from my wallet.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely on the BS part, as you know. But branding also, what do people associate you with? What words come to mind when I say that? Can also be part of the brand.
As for me, it's definitely discounts.
I'm saying,
discounts and prices.
So one of the things that I've learned about you as we've grown in time of being connected here is your love for all things outside of the U.S. So, and you have a lot of good relationships and knowledge of the environment. So how did that come to be?
Let's be clear. I love America. I just love people is what it is. And so one of the great joys has been able to travel all over the world. Right. And, give talks and work on projects and do stuff with people. It started out as an ambition, I would say now 4 years ago. And so I got I had the opportunity to give the closing keynote address at a conference in the UK. And once I did, I had that opportunity. I realized that number one, bad marketing is a global challenge. So there was room for me, right? And the stuff I was talking about, strategy first before tactics, marketing is where the profit is. Discounts are for dummies. Were challenges people were dealing with all over the place. I also realized that because of some of the successes I've had in my career, that it gave me a chance. My brand carried relevance outside of the United States as well as in the States. And that when I got to go places, I enjoyed it. And those three things were, kind of fed each other. So I don't know if I answered that question very well, but
it did. I mean,
it's been a very, very cool thing. And it's one of the things that sucks about the pandemic is I haven't had a chance to go anywhere because I had some really great trips lined up last year in the States and out as well.
Yeah, it's
I don't want it to sound like I'm anti-American.
No, I didn't mean that. I love traveling.
You laid it out. I just love going places and hanging out with people.
I like traveling outside the U.S. too, and personally and professionally, I think it's going to be something that I'll get to do down the line. But no, I mean, just even being more of a bigger fan, like we talked. I know you're a big fan of soccer or football.
Yeah.
And, Australian, the Australian sports, and you have a good relationship. I forget who it is who you always talk about what's going on in China.
Greg Turner.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greg Turner's great.
Yeah,
He's a super nice guy.
But it's good because there are definitely lessons to be learned, but also we can't just say, okay, it worked there, so it's going to work here, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Everything is context driven, right? Like one of the big challenges, so like if people are this first time they're hearing from me, a lot of the work that I've done over the years has involved tickets and entertainment, hospitality. And one of the challenges, at least in the states that people are dealing with in sports business, primarily, and sometimes in the arts and in museums, is that they want to take a solution that works in one market and they want to just apply it everywhere. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work anywhere, right? It doesn't matter what business it is. Everything's contextual, right? There might be some signposts and some, best practices and some guides that you can use to help you uncover what will be successful. But I can guarantee you that what worked in one market is not necessarily likely to work exactly the same way in another market. And so the thing is, the challenge that everybody needs to be aware of so that they can overcome it is that each scenario, each solution is driven by the context of the problem you're trying to solve. And so you have to always be conscious of diagnosis, right? Do some research, understand the market, see what behaviors people are taking, pick the right targets, position against the competition in your market, create goals and objectives and strategies that are going to that feed into the marketing mix that you have. And it's just, people have to get very, very comfortable with the process. The process works, in my experience, globally. The specifics are always unique to the market.
Right. One of the things I believe in is that, unless you're introducing something that's, completely new, that you don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel, right? Everyone's trying to reinvent the wheel when you can make, the wheel better or more functional or more valuable. If you're not coming up with something that's totally new. And so it's not necessarily that you have to be the only one doing it. You just have to do it better and be able to market it better to get it in more people's hands, or at least the knowledge of it. Not a question, just a comment. Curious.
Well, actually, there's something there, right? And so you're bringing up the idea, I think, of commodities, if I'm not mistaken. And my belief, and the way I learned it in my marketing courses, is that no business, no product, no service has to become a commodity. There are always ways to differentiate yourself and to move yourself up the value ladder. I think one of the dangers of being a lazy marketer or a marketer that hasn't been trained is that you don't understand the idea of value creation. You don't understand the product through the three phases of the product, which is the core benefit, the actual product, the augmented product, right? You don't understand how that drives people up the value ladder, right? From like commodity all the way up to emotional connection. So you have to pay attention to these things. And this is why I stress so much the power of like proper training, because of having all this like knowledge of the practice of marketing. It allows me to take any context, any new tool, any new idea I have, and be able to understand it through how can I use it and how can I make it work in a marketing campaign for a business, or how something becomes a distraction pretty easy. Because a lot of times what happens, and the danger for a lot of businesses, is they feel like they have to be everywhere, that they have to do everything. They have to be everybody's on this hot new platform, or everybody's doing this thing right now. And the thing is most of the time you don't need to do that, right? The thing you need to be conscious of is what's going to work for you, right? And that's, if anything about my career and the successes and failures I've had, is absolutely is understanding that like context is king or queen if you want. And, you have to be understanding of what's going to work for you in this moment, because it doesn't matter if it was going to work for somebody else. It only matters about your specific situation. And you have to be very, very focused on what's you're trying to achieve. And not, and that's it. Just you have to worry about you and what you need to achieve. That's it.
Well, you mentioned something about everyone hopping on the hot trend. I want to
Yeah.
ask you about NFTs and do you know about them? It's crazy. I think, especially you as a value person.
You do know I know about them.
Yeah, I do know you know about it. But, as a value person, to me, and I'm not talking about value in dollars. I'm talking about why should I value this, right? I don't see it. And that doesn't mean it can't be the next best thing and people aren't going to make money on it.
No, that's a fair thing. And here's the thing I would caution anybody that's listening about is that, like, I don't, as the marketer, right? So whoever created an NFT for something that Matt Wolff would want, they don't create the value for that. Matt does. And if Matt doesn't see the value in it, there's no value there, right? The NFT things are interesting, right? Because for me, I understand some things, right? If you ask me what's going to work or what's not going to work in marketing or in any situation, I'll tell you I don't know. Because the truth is I don't know the answer, but I know how to find it, right? Which is like, I talk to customers, do research. I see what people are doing. These things are interesting because who am I to tell somebody not to value something, right? Who am I to say that, like, you can't do something really interesting or can't add different levels of value or things that people find valuable to these tools? It's not going to be for everybody, though, because nothing's for everybody. I've been playing with a little bit like of cryptocurrency and the NFTs just so I could be halfway intelligent about these things. So they're interesting, but would I say that they're going to be a magic bullet to solve everybody's problems? The answer is probably no, because there are no magic bullets in most cases. I would again fall back on context. They might be great in certain situations, but you have to know who you're trying to reach. You have to know how they act. You have to know what they want, what they value. And then maybe they're the answer.
From a fan's perspective, they might value it because it has dollar value, and they see, hey, I'm buying it for $1,000 and selling it for $2,000. To me, that's just more like a stock, a gamble. And
some of that's a lot of speculation. There's like a lot of speculation in a lot of these markets now. I mean, that's it's
more opportunity to be manipulated.
Correct. It's not even like so far removed from tickets, right? Because the secondary market is after I make this statement, they may not be as big of fans as they were before 5 minutes ago, but that's fine. We'll deal with it.
Yeah.
But so much of what happens in the secondary market now is speculation. It is no relation to marketing and selling or real value. It's gambling, right? And that's really what it has become. And for a lot of people, that's what the NFTs are. And you just have to be understanding of what the context is, right? You just have to understand that everything matters in the context that it exists in.
It's also not an even playing field with talking about getting in the barrier to entry and the availability of it, whether it's being able to have the money to even do it with these high prices that they're starting. It's not like I was just talking to someone else like, hey, if you want to buy Apple stock, I don't care how much money you have, you can buy Apple stock. You can buy it from day one when they launch.
Yeah.
But this stuff is not, it's $1,000 to start, and not everyone can have access to it, but then you can just buy and sell it. So they want to keep the what's the word? The exclusivity of it, but it's sort of only exclusive to be like, hey, I want that because not many people have it, and I'm willing to pay for it. Right?
Yeah.
That's just
supply and demand, right? But again, if you don't see the value, then there's no value there. But as for me, we'll use me because I'm the marketer here. It's not for me to define the value. That's not my job. The job is like the customer defines the value. It doesn't matter what I'm selling you, right? It doesn't matter, for Ticket Time Machine, right? If the people don't understand the value of having souvenir tickets to give to their customers, then there's no value there, right? There's no amount of convincing and like educating people on there. The only thing you can try to do is position yourself in a way that they're going to see the value. But like they define the value, not you, not me.
It is just something's worth whatever someone will pay for it, whether it's a house, a card, an NFT. That's different.
Right.
Yeah, that's different.
It's the Bill Parcells thing. Our record is whatever it says, whatever they say, whatever it says it is, right?
Yeah.
If we're 2-7, That's our record. That's who we are.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. If somebody pays $100 for an NFT, that's what it's worth.
Yeah.
For that person. Now, is it logical? Probably not. Is it, and is it my, way, is it for me to define the value? No, it's totally not. But my job would be to understand that some people are going to value that and are willing to spend $100 on it. At which point I go over and go, I've got these beautiful things for $100. How many of you would like to buy them?
For 200.
Yeah. Well, no, even for 100, right? It doesn't matter, right? I'm, my job is to help understand what people are going to find value in, and find things that they will pay for. That's my job. It's not to tell them what to value. That's not the job. The job is to figure out what they want and find stuff that I can give to them that will fill that need.
Yeah, I know. I don't know that I ever got the story of, I guess, how you got to where you're at. So tell us
around. This is usually like early in the show, Matt. Come on.
Tell us where you're from, and what type of jobs you had that got you into this whole marketing obsession, which is, I guess, a good word.
I guess it is. It's right. It's like, I do love the process of marketing. I do love it. So I started out, I grew up in, I was born on a naval base, and I grew up in northern Georgia, so near Athens. I went to high school in Florida, and then I went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, where I studied actually political science. From there, I went back to Florida, and I started opening nightclubs. And so I helped open some nightclubs in Fort Lauderdale, Houston, St. Louis, and Chicago. And that's really where I really learned about marketing. I learned about the value of incremental revenue. I learned about promotion. I learned about place. I learned about lifetime customer value. I learned about positioning. All these things that I have helped me throughout my career. I learned in those nightclubs for that 2 or 3 years that I opened nightclubs from 96 to 99. In 1999, I moved to Seattle. And in Seattle, I helped open the Experience Music Project, which was this thing Paul Allen, who helped found Microsoft, started and it was dedicated to the spirit of American creativity as expressed through rock and roll music. After all these years, I remember everything. And I was pretty lucky because I really got the job, I think, on a whim. Because they were like, "Oh, this guy's open nightclubs. He must know something about bars and restaurants." And so I did. And through that, though, I made connections with some of the executives, including Jody Allen, who was Paul's sister. And she said, "You do a really great job of selling yourself." And so that really opened the door to my first full-fledged marketing role, where I took the Liquid Lounge and the turntable, and I became one of the marketing. I don't know if I even had a title of a marketing manager, but that was what the role was. And so I was in charge of helping get people from the downtown Seattle business community come to the museum. I did that for about 3 years. It was great. I moved to New York, not knowing anybody in the world, but I said, it's big, it's there, I'm going. I still self-identify as a New Yorker, even though I live in DC now. And from there, I met this guy called Jonathan Radler, who is the owner of Americana Tickets. It was one of the great good fortunes of my life because it allowed me to get involved in tickets. Because before that, I'd done some stuff with the Seahawks and the Dolphins and the Supersonics on event game day stuff, but it was such low level, awful stuff that I was the worst employee ever. I'm totally cool to say that.
I want to cut you off there for a second. Are the Supersonics ever coming back?
Bring them back. Yeah, they'll be back.
You want them? I would love it. That was my team. Dale Ellis and X-Man, my favorite players.
Yeah, no, they'll be back. But from there, so I got involved with American Express through the work I was doing. And this is the reason people pay any attention to me at all in tickets is because the Centurion card, the black card. So I helped the American Express and their concierge partner figure out how to get tickets for black card members anywhere in the world by just picking up the phone. And I was sort of ended up being the supply chain for tickets all over the world. And so I met tons and tons of people in probably every continent in the world. And from there, I started a business of my own with a couple partners And in the end of 2007, I was able to sell my part of the business, and I was completely unemployable at that point. So because all these crazy things I had done, there was no box I fit into inside of an organization. So I started doing this, and my first client was Coca-Cola, and I was helping launch the Odwalla brand when they bought it. From there, I helped reelect the president. I've worked on fundraisers with businesses around the world, with nonprofits. So one of the things I'm really, really proud of was in 2019, I worked on this thing called Come Say Hi to Eli, which was a campaign done by ebresearch.org. A guy called Michael Hund is their executive director. He's an incredible person. It's a disease called epididymis isis paloma. It is a skin disease that kids have, and they have one layer of skin. We'll have 7 layers of skin. So they live their lives in pain. It's like they have, they're always in burning and in constant pain. So I worked with them and their board, one of the founding members of the board is a guy by the name of Eddie Vedder and his wife, Jill.
I was just going to say that's a Pearl Jam.
Yeah, have done a fantastic job. Ed is the global ambassador for the disease. Obviously, using his platform as the lead singer of Pearl Jam helps get that message out there, and helping them was one of the most incredible things that I ever had a chance to do. I work with the sports teams. I get to give some talks around the world. Most of the time, it's just understanding the process of marketing and making money is really, and it's just a lot of hard work and a lot of consistency. But that doesn't mean I work harder than anybody else. It's really just I realized that marketing could take you almost anywhere, and I've been very fortunate. I work really hard at it. I study and take classes constantly on the thing, and I just never grow tired of the topic. I just love I just love marketing.
Yeah. Who do you follow as a marketer? The stuff that is there someone you read a lot of, or just
there's a lot of people I follow a lot. There's probably the person who has the greatest influence on me is a guy called Mark Ritson, who was a business school professor at Minnesota and at the London Business School and at the Melbourne Business School. He writes for Marketing Week now, and he teaches a class on marketing. Mark is fantastic. There's a young lady. Mark, no. I have not. I know a bunch of his students, though. We tried to get together to drink and get him out to drink with us the last time I was in Australia. He was not around. Another person I really like is Helen Edwards. She's fantastic. She's really smart on brands. I would say that if anybody's looking to further their marketing education, look up the work of Byron Sharp. Sorry, Byron Sharp is from Australia as well. I really am a fan of the work of Scott Galloway, who is at NYU Stern. His branding chops are excellent. There's Grace Kite, Dr. Grace Kite, as far as analytics and data. She is fantastic. Those are probably some of my primary sources. Some of the people I've had on my podcast over the year, The Business of Fun, Ryan Wallman, who's a copywriter in healthcare. He's a really sharp marketer. Zoe Skaman, who's from Bodacious, she's incredibly smart, and I've learned, for better or for worse, all about cryptocurrency and NFT from her and her work. She's great. Helen Bailey is great. There's a lot of them. I try to put together a list of people and resources and share it from time to time. But there's a lot, yeah. And they're not usually the ones that people are going, "Oh my God, this guy's such a marketing genius."
Is there
no names? I'm not gonna include any names because I don't feel like getting wound up today.
No, we won't get wound up. We'll keep it calm. Any big names out there that you think are doing a really good job of marketing, even though I don't want to say they don't have to, but for example,
you mean big brands?
Yeah,
big brands that do a great job. Um, I would, the easy example is Apple. Apple does a great job. And they continue to do a pretty good job. I mean, are they as great as they were at their peak? Probably not, but they still do a fantastic job. I think that who else does a really good job? Starbucks does a pretty good job as well. Starbucks is very good about their marketing and advertising. In the UK, I love, and when I say some of these that you're not going to consider them as much marketing, maybe because you're going to, it's easy to confuse advertising with marketing, but marketing's like the whole everything. But I really love the brand of Smithson and the way it's been able to maintain its integrity and its allure over the years. Mont Blanc, the pen company, I think that they're great. I think that, as far as like knowledge and learning something, somebody like The Economist or the Harvard Business Review, they do great jobs. Harvard Business Review gets one of the highest spends per customer of any publication at any point in time. I mean, they do a great job. You might not just think of those. If I have to dig down a little deeper, because a lot of times, doing good marketing gets equated with doing good advertising. So there's a lot of people that do some really great advertising, but is it really good marketing? And a lot of times the answer is no.
Yeah. If you had to give up consulting and pick one company to work for, do you ever think about who that would be?
So this is actually something I've thought about several times. It's like, if I was going to take a role, my joke has always been the dream job would be the commissioner of the NHL. Because I think that hockey should be a much bigger sport. But the truth is I would take anything that had to do with Major League Baseball. I would do it because I feel like baseball, you can do so much with the work that, with the game and with the things that Major League Baseball has going for it.
Are they going to save minor league baseball?
That's a subject I'm going to leave unsaid today. I don't know. I feel like minor league baseball had been doing a really, really great job, and the people that were in charge of minor league baseball were just really, really great executives. And so it was unfortunate. I don't know exactly what these changes are going to mean.
Bad timing, maybe.
I mean, it's a really due to the pandemic. It's a really uncertain time for a lot of people. And it's just, I thought that minor league baseball was really, in a lot of places, a good example of doing marketing and selling and building a brand in your local market, doing it well.
Yeah, because
we hope to see that continues.
Certain teams definitely can survive, and they're doing great things like, Jesse Cole and Savannah Bananas, and there's a bunch of other ones out there. But there's just a lot of, it was meant to be a farm system as opposed to just individual, hey, let's give entertainment. So it's kind of like there's a balance. I hope it does. I've been to the.
Well, it's true. There's definitely a balance.
Yeah. I hope they do. And I think anytime you can give people a chance, because some people might need more of a chance it takes them a bit longer. So they need to go up that ladder to make it to where they need to go from the professional athlete point of view. So I'm hoping that it does. Do you have a favorite event that you've been to, sporting event, and a bucket list?
The best, man. The best event that I have been to. Sorry. I'm going to say
your favorite, best.
Okay, so I'm going to give you three because it'll be hard to do. So the one of them would be the bloody sock game between the Yankees and the Red Sox when Curt Schilling had that was amazing. I don't think I saw a run scored the whole game because I was there with my boss and we were getting drunk on expensive Yankee Stadium beers, but we had a great time. It was awesome, and we were so close to the field, right? So that was awesome. I went to Wembley Stadium to see Tottenham versus Chelsea, the Big Six, and that was awesome. That was unbelievable. And then the third one, it really is. It still goes down as the greatest concert I've ever seen, which is I went with my buddy Graham when we just moved to New York. We had probably been there 6 months maybe at that point, and we went to Madison Square Garden to see Pearl Jam, and it was only the third or fourth time that the floor had ever shaken during a concert, because people were like jumping up and down, and it was rocking. And it was like still you can find the video of it because they turned it into a concert video. But July 8th, 2003 was the greatest.
Brent wants to commend you on your lighting. He's always busting my chops about my lighting, which is terrible. He says you have excellent lighting.
I try to be a professional, Brent. I try to be a professional.
I'm not professional about this, but
also I'm virtue signaling with the bookshelf behind me. So
Pearl Jam, Pearl Jam is. I've seen them down here in Florida, where Eddie will play 45 minutes after the lights go on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So so that's great. So those three would definitely be it.
Sports. How about a bucket list for sports and music?
I was really, so this is one of the ones that the pandemic killed. I really always wanted to go to the grand final of the AFL. So it's like the Australian Football League Super Bowl. So like I was totally going to go last year because I mean, I was going to have the opportunity, and then the pandemic kind of screwed that up. So that's one I definitely want to go to. I want to definitely see an event at the Sydney Opera House. I would love to, I've been there. I've gone all around it. I just never seen a show there. That would be something. As far as real concerts go, it's more about places than it is performers at this point, because I get a chance to see.
Have you been to Red Rocks?
I have not been to Red Rock. I would love to go to
Gorge.
Well, the Gorge, I lived in Seattle for a long time. The Gorge is beautiful, but Red Rocks or the Royal Albert Hall in London, to see the Paris Opera House, like some of these classic venues that just due to my schedule when I've been in these places, I haven't had a chance to go. Maybe if there was like a way to see a show somewhere near like the Acropolis in Greece or something, that would be great. Like it's all, to me now, it's about places. It's about seeing some of these places.
Yeah. Well, still, you have to choose one here. If you had to choose sports or music, and the rest you can't have it for the rest of your life, are you picking sports or music?
I would probably say music. Music has, it's been more of a constant in my life. It's strange because in the world of like tickets and all these things, I get so attached to sports, right? And people feel like, but as I know a great deal about throwing a party and getting people into them. But it's always the concert, because it's, the bands and the performers I followed, they never play. Most of them don't play the same show twice. And so it's like always a once in a lifetime experience, right? The first year that my wife and I were together, I took her to see Neil Young right before Christmas. And it was like such a magical thing, right? I talked about the Pearl Jam concert with my buddy Graham. I took we call him my son's Uncle Neil, but I took Uncle Neil to see his first Pearl Jam concert. So guys I know, like I've known over the years, like when you've taken me to all these great concerts. So I think it's music. Music would be the
I think
if I had to pick one over the other.
It's a crazy thing to say because that type of decision would be ridiculous.
It would be awful though, because I mean, I do like, there's so many awesome sporting events I've been to.
How about this one? Your favorite teams are only going to win one more championship. Who do you give it to?
I would give it. I'd have to give it to Tottenham because Alabama's won about 10 the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And the truth is like at this point, I really only watch my Alabama football and I really watch a lot of Tottenham Hotspur soccer. So then like it would have to be Tottenham because Alabama wins, unless I chose the Alabama men's basketball team to win the national championship because that would be like a miracle. That would be a miracle.
They got a shot this year. This will be as good a shot as they've had. They're looking at a 2 seed, and if they win the SEC, I can see a 1 seed, depending if there's any upset. We'll have to see. You're a big beer guy. We talked about beer. You make fun of my fruit beers, and and sours. Give me your favorite beer location, and your favorite maybe brewery.
Okay. So this is a thing. I used to be bigger on the beer. I cut it out a while, mostly, and I probably have more bourbon than anything else. But I just did have some beers this weekend, and I have to say that this is a super hyped pale ale, and it just got released in DC. I drank almost the entire 6-pack all by myself. Called Zombie Dust from Three Floyds. It was unbelievable. So it is everything you could imagine. My 3 favorite beers though would be Pliny the Elder from Russian River. My second favorite beer would be the Zombie Dust. The Zombie Dust was unbelievable. And then I love the 120-minute IPA from Dogfish Head. My favorite bar in the world is I love the Brewdog in Soho in London. I always go to the Brewdog in Soho in London. I love that bar. It's just like a really cool place. I can get there with my eyes closed at this point.
My favorite bars in London were the secret ones that you go.
I have many favorite bars in London. Yeah. That's just my favorite one for beer.
You get the password and they open up the fake refrigerator and you go downstairs, and one was called the Mayor of Scaredy Cat.
I remember. So if anybody ever goes to Sydney, or if anybody is in Sydney, there is a speakeasy like that in Sydney where the front is a barber. And then you go through a secret curtain and there's this incredible gin bar behind the barbershop. That's awesome. That was one of the most fun things. And I remember, so my friend Simon Mabb, who's the CEO of Booking Protect, we went there and we got really, really we were there for hours and it was great. It was this really dark, but it was very beautifully apportioned. But it was you would never know it was there. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And it was just like that.
I look forward to sharing a beer with you in person.
One of these days. It'll
happen sooner than later, I think. We'll get you out of here with the last question I ask everyone. 24 hours to hang out with one person. They have to be living. You can't be related to them. Who is it, and what are you guys doing?
Ooh, 24 hours. Man. Just one person, huh?
Just one.
Oh,
I guess it'd be a group. If it's a music group, it could be a group. I probably should.
Well, no, I would actually say one of the nicest experiences, and you can never recreate. You have one experience once, you cherish it for what it's worth. But one of the greatest things, and if I could go back and I realize how awesome this time that I spent with these two guys would be Einar and Simon when we were in Sydney. We spent a day. We had a day together in Sydney, and we had such a great time. And so if I had a chance to go hang out with those guys again in some random city, I would totally do it again.
Well, you can make that happen. I'm talking about a celebrity public figure that I can try and make happen because I'm going to do it for one of my guests.
See, I guess too, due to some of the stuff I've done, I've got to hang out with a lot of people like that. I think that probably the coolest one would be because I never had a chance to meet him. I would say probably Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
and I would definitely just go drink tequila with Michael Jordan because I'm not a very good golfer.
No, you got to play.
And he would beat me so badly in basketball. So we'd probably go drink tequila.
I'd do all. I'd play golf. I'd play hoops, and we'd do some tequila with him. So always great to chat with you. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me.
Tell everybody where they can find your stuff. It's scrolling across the bottom, but tell everybody what else you want to say to them before we say goodbye.
Let's plug some stuff here. All right. So look, if you want to send me an email, I love to hear from people. Send it to me at dave@davewakeman.com. It's my name, dave@davewakeman.com. My website's davewakeman.com. There's a blog. There's all kinds of stuff there. I'm going to put together a little teleseminar in the next week or two about business writing because as some of these sales opportunities start growing up, people need to improve their writing game. Make sure you check out the Business of Fun podcast. It started out as a tool for me to talk to people in live entertainment about marketing and selling tickets more effectively. It's kind of turned into a catch-all for lessons on marketing, case studies, still things on selling and marketing tickets. It's all there. You can find it. Just Google the Business of Fun. But I really would love to drive people to my 2 newsletters. One's called Talking Tickets at talkingtickets.substack.com. It is for live entertainment and ticket industry. And the other one is called The Business of Value. So businessofvalue.substack.com. And that one is all about strategy and marketing and making more money. I would love to have you connect with me on those things, but businessofvalue.substack.com. If you do that one thing, it'll lead you to all the other ones.
Yeah, and they can go to
that's it.
They can go to davewakeman.com and find all that information too.
Oh, there's like you search me and it's like a rabbit hole that I'm embarrassed by.
Yeah, well, it's better to have a rabbit hole than no rabbit hole.
It's true.
Well, have a great day. We got a couple more episodes this week, but
thanks for having me.
Make it a great week, and we'll talk to you guys soon.